The Android Central podcast is brought to you by Audible. Visit audiblepodcast.com/AC for your free audiobook. Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Android Central podcast. It's episode number 89 for Thursday, March 8th, 2012. Welcome back. It's good to see everybody. I'm Phil Nickinson. I'm your host for this little show and the editor of AndroidCentral.com, and it's been a while since we've met here. I kind of missed everybody. I missed all you guys at home. I missed all you guys watching live. I missed everybody in the No, I didn't miss the chat room so much, actually. I'm not going to lie about that. Can't do it. So we're back. We are live Thursday night. We are a week removed from Mobile World Congress. Oh, the chat room's mad now. Mad chat room is mad. And with us tonight, we have Jerry Hildenbrand from the site.
Hey, everybody. What's happening?
And we got Mickey Papillon. You know him as the cell phone junkie.
Greetings, everybody.
And from Manchester, England, we have Alex Doby.
Hey, everyone.
And from the left coast and the Android Central forums, we have Cory Streeter.
Hello, everybody. What's that question mark?
What question mark?
There was a big question mark when Alex...
Yes, Alex's camera has dropped off. I'm trying to put it back on.
I gotcha.
Well, I actually got to meet Alex last week, and let me tell you, he's sexier in person than you know from this podcast. But beyond that, the man has a voice that is just so recognizable. Alex, how many times did people stop and ask you, like, they've heard that voice before?
At MWC, at least 4 times, and there's one last night as well at this 3 event. It's weird. Really weird.
Bizarre. So we are back. It's been, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks since we did this live? So we had Mobile World Congress last... God, that was only a week ago. I can't believe it. It seems so much longer. But we are back from Barcelona. Successful. I don't want to talk too terribly much about it because we did a couple podcasts while we were there. I guess we did 3, didn't we? You guys have seen, the bulk of the news. The big thing, I think, was HTC. There was a bunch of other stuff as well. I mean, it wasn't just HTC, but that was kind of the big one. Alex, you saw some Sony stuff that was good. We saw some new stuff from Samsung. So really, I want to hear from Jerry and Mickey and Cory real quick and see, is there anything you guys wanted to talk about that we haven't touched on already?
I'm really impressed with Huawei.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They came big. I think their stuff's looking really nice.
Yeah, I think it's the first Android phone that I actually looked at from them where I kind of thought, oh, that's a nice phone. I'd carry that around. Like to check it out.
What about you, Mickey?
I think my general feel from the whole thing was that HTC brought their game, and Samsung just kind of stepped aside, and we know they're going to have something coming up here pretty soon. But if you just look at the trade show as an event of itself, I think HTC stole it. They had some really good stuff.
I've been trying to decide if it's. You see a lot of people writing that HTC has got its game back or whatever, and I think it's a little too early to say that.
Yes.
Just because we don't have phones in hand, and I know we're all excited, and what we saw looks really good and it feels really good, and I will absolutely say that. Let's not crown them just yet. I mean, they need to earn this back, and they need to earn it back more than just showing up at the show with some. And not that showing up at Mobile World Congress with good stuff is a small thing, but there's a whole lot of talk, and we need to get these phones in our hands. I mean, I think the bulk of the HTC One series is in the camera, right? And demo photos are great. They're cool. They make everybody go, ooh, as we're watching them. But I want to get it in my hand. I need to take pictures because, you know what? A year ago, we were sitting there, and Google says, hey, look at the camera on this Galaxy Nexus. It's great. It takes photos immediately. And we get it, and it sucks. So...
Yeah.
I have no doubt that HTC has stepped up its game in the camera department because, let's face it couldn't have gotten much worse. But I want to get this in my hand. I want to use it. And, God, we're going to have these things in a month. I think that's probably the 2 biggest things for me at HTC. I mean, the hardware is great. Good. That's hardware that's always going to get better, right? But it's the fact that they made a big deal out of saying, look, you're going to be able to buy these in 60 days, within 60 days. You got that, and then you got Sense. And I think HTC's willingness to kind of back off Sense a little bit. And they said, look, we listen to everybody. and we took things to heart, and we've kind of backed away from the design a little bit, and I think that's going to go a long way.
Let's hope so.
It's still, I mean, look, it still very much feels like an HTC phone.
HTC has always looked pretty good on paper too, and I think you're right. We need to get it in our hands. I think there's been some build quality issues over the last year or so. Look at the Thunderbolt, just leaving it on your desk and it got scratched up, right? I mean, it was terrible. So you're right. It's too early to say, oh, they made a comeback. And, I'd like to get my hands on it and play with it a little bit. And the build quality is especially important to me. I'd love to see another Nexus, like the original Nexus.
Amen.
God, I just haven't seen anything like that since.
Mine's sitting here on my desk, and I've been picking it up a little bit the past couple of days, thinking about that, actually. I love the soft touch on this. And none of the phones that is coming out really has this soft touch feel. The polycarbonate of the 1X feels pretty good, but it feels pretty plasticky as well. I want to see how durable it is. I'm a little worried. It's got a little bit of a gloss to it, and I'm a little worried about that kind of falling off, just rubbing off. The 1S, man, I like the 1S so much. It's so thin. It feels really good. It's got that cool micro arc oxidation thing, although there are actually two versions of the 1S. But oh my God, it's so thin. I know we talked about this last week from Barcelona. It's like I can't decide if I want to open up a T-Mobile line just to get that, or if I import one, or I don't know. But
$30 Walmart plan.
It's got to be said. The 1X is pretty thin as well. You look at it, and it looks like it shouldn't be as thin and as light as it is. It's weird to pick that up and to have it weigh next to nothing.
Yeah.
Well, since they made such a big deal out of the camera, did anyone take a picture, or were there pictures on the phone that you could look at?
Maybe it's tough at a show like that. Just because, I mean, I took pictures with it, and it takes pictures just fine. The rooms you're in are generally pretty dark and not really real world circumstances. I guess maybe it's my real world, I suppose. But no, need to get it back and actually try it.
And apart from anything, a lot of the camera has to do with a lot of the camera quality has to do with software, and you're not going to have final software on there. So a picture you take today with the demo unit isn't necessarily going to look the same as the same image you take with final hardware.
Yeah. Well, and that comes back to something else: is that image sense? Sorry, it's had a couple names. Image sense is like their new processor. They have a dedicated processor, and just the software is all new. So I mean, it's important stuff. They're working really hard at it.
Well, if it has a protruding camera, it better be good. I don't like those protruding cameras.
It's not protruding that much. It does, but it's only very, very slight, and it's curved sort of, so you don't really notice it too much when you're holding it.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'm trying to think. The Galaxy Note 10.1 was interesting. From a software
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, from a software standpoint, really well done. I've talked before about these devices needing to have kind of a purpose and not just being a 10-inch screen with a bunch of icons on it, because Android, let's face it, doesn't do that very well. With the 10.1 Note, or Note 10.1, God, I hate that name, by the way. It's awkward. But the software, the way they've done it, you've got things windowed so you can run more than one thing at a time, and I know we've seen other people experimenting with that. But it's done really well. The pen has done really well. Samsung has done very, very well with that line. For me, they're kind of killing me with the marketing, and part of that's just because I have to live with stuff. But that's going to be an interesting one, too. Again, though, we don't need 5,000 versions of it. We really don't.
Yeah, and we already had rumors there's another one in the works, a 7-inch one. And you got to argue, you got a 5.3 and a 10.1. Do you need something in the middle? Is there really the market for that device?
Yeah, we'll see. It's just, it needs to be done with a purpose, not just for the sake of making another one. Look, we're probably not going to review the Verizon 7.7 because you know what's different. It's got
LTE.
Yeah, it's got LTE, and you know what? I can run speed tests all day long. It's whatever. It's if you're gonna give me a different form factor, give me something new. That's my thing.
Someone in the chat was mentioning the pad phone. That was the other quite interesting device we saw at MWC, which is a phone that you put inside a tablet, which you put inside a keyboard dock, and then you put a pen and all this other crazy stuff. So I don't know. If any of you guys that weren't at MWC think that this is going to be something that you're going to want to go out and buy?
Hell no.
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 I see that me spending a whole bunch more money to get a phone, a tablet, and a cheap ass netbook than I could just buy a phone, a tablet, and a netbook with. It's it's if they can come in
we still don't know the
and get
pricing.
the whole bundle for $700-800, then I'll gladly say I'm wrong. But I'm thinking that we're going to be looking at $1,200-1,300 by the time you're done buying all this stuff.
It all depends what comes bundled with it, doesn't it? I guess, because do you get the entire package in one box, or are they going to try and sell you the phone separately? We still don't know that. We still don't know how much every part's going to cost.
They've been
Or
selling.
you can bet those
separately.
are going to be accessories.
Yeah.
It'll be $1,000 or those will all be like separate accessories.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm afraid of.
I don't know. I
And
mean, Asus did a pretty good job with the Transform with not charging the Earth for it when it first came out, even with the keyboard dock.
Right. But on the other hand, I mean, Motorola, what, $350-400 for those laptop docks?
Mhm.
Yeah. That's the other side of it, I guess.
Well, and I'm telling you, Canonical and in Ubuntu, it's it's WebTop done right. Anything else at MWC? I think that's it.
No, let's move on. I think it was a good show. I think there was a lot of good stuff that was launched, but it was, certainly it sets the stage for, a lot of the international markets specifically. There were some of those vendors like ZTE.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow. You could make a
phones.
career out of what they announced just at that show.
Well, in LG had, I guess they announced was it 8, and they had 6 of them there. LG, I tell you what, I like the L series. I like the top 2 phones of the L series. Everything else, it's like, all right. And you know what? I mean, there are people within LG who are like, we don't know why they made the View. Actually, no, they said the reason we made the View is because somebody said Samsung has a 5-incher. We need a 5-incher. That's the only reason.
That's the wrong reason to make any
Exactly.
product.
Totally the wrong reason.
Totally the wrong reason.
Did you guys like anything that Sony put out?
Alex did.
Yes, I went to Sony press conference. They had 2 new mid-range devices. One was the Xperia P, which is like a small version of this thing right here, the Xperia S. And they had a budget device, which is actually kind of interesting. It's a dual-core budget device called the Xperia U, and they've got some kind of wacky personalization stuff in there. So the transparent bar down the bottom here, which on this phone is locked to white, you can actually change that the color of that based on the thing that you've got selected. You can also swap out the bottom area of the phone. So kind of useless, I guess. Some people might like that, but the interesting thing is, for me at least, this is relatively high-end hardware, probably aimed at the low end.
Sony
I hate everything Sony showed me because they won't sell it. I love Sony products so bad. I know company-wise and openness, Sony I don't see eye to eye, but I love their equipment. I use Sony laptop. I love Sony stuff. I want to buy your phones. Bring them to the United States, please.
Well, they are, and they've got the Ion, but the problem with the Ion is the same issue I've got with this Xperia S, is that it's going to be launching with Gingerbread, and I have enough problems with them launching the Xperia S now with Gingerbread, and you can imagine the Ion is coming out probably in May or June. That's launching with Gingerbread. How long are you then going to have to wait for Sony to get the update done and then AT&T to approve it? And you could be in the same situation that you were in with the X10, where, okay, you buy a phone that already has an update that's 6-7 months old, and then you've got to wait maybe till the end of the year to get IPS.
I don't want to have to go to my carrier to buy one. SonyStyleUS.com or wherever sells everything else. Sell me a phone. Sell me an unlocked GSM phone, and I will be a happy, happy man. They
were doing that last year with the Arc, but there was kind of a delay, so who knows what they're going to do this year.
I had a breakfast with a bunch of guys. One of the manufacturers had a bunch of bloggers up early for breakfast last week, and we're all sitting there talking and started talking about the most anybody had ever paid for a phone. And I think Dieter Bohn won that, paying $800 for the Xperia 1 X1.
Did he really?
3 years ago. Oh, yeah, I remember when he bought that.
Oh.
Whoo, Sony. And talking about updates, I mean, I was thinking about this today. The Infuse 4G, which I have sitting here in pieces. I actually took this guy with me. All right, who's echoing? Who is that? It's one of you four. I'm looking at you. Or Renee.
I don't hear any echo.
Somebody's echoing. So actually, I took the Infuse to Spain and back. It worked like a champ for a little point and shoot. But it's been getting its gingerbread update for a month now. All right, somebody's echoing. Who has speakers on? It's not me. I'm hearing it, which means it's one of you guys.
I'm hearing
Cory,
it. I got headphones on.
Must be Renee.
It's not me. I have a microphone muted.
All right, we will soldier on. So that's Mobile World Congress, I guess. We'll do it again next year. What else? You want to talk privacy or Google Play first? How about Google Play? That's kind of a big deal because
Google Play. That way, I can get another beer in me before we get to privacy.
There is no such thing as privacy, so we might as well talk about Play.
All right. So middle of the day, what was it? Tuesday. Google says, "Oh, by the way, the Android market's dead, gone. That's it. It is now Google Play. Everything is Google Play. Google Music is now Google Play. Google Books is Google Play Books." What was the other one? Google Movies is Google Play Movies. You buy your applications from Google Play. Where the hell do you tell people to go buy apps now? Do you say go buy them in the Android section of Google Play?
It's still the market. It's not the market. I still have the market.
Officially,
it's the Play
It's still
Store.
Presented the same way. It's just a branding change.
It doesn't. And I guess that's kind of the problem, that you could get confusion with people. If they're used to seeing the Android market, suddenly it's gone. And we had some emails to that effect.
Yeah, no, we were still getting some today.
Yeah, the icon's gone. Where's my Android market gone?
Yeah, I mean, even 48 hours later. And that sort of thing is expected, I suppose. But I don't know. And my bigger thing, and I wrote a short post on this actually, is you really lose the visual branding. You lose the green. You lose the bug droid. And yeah, it's just tough. I mean, that was iconic. At a glance, you're like, all right, that's Android. That's the market. That's Bug Droid. That's where I go to get Android stuff. Now you've got this white bag and a triangle that everyone says, oh, it looks like a play button. Well, it looks like a triangle. That's what it looks like.
You know, it's baffling they got rid of that.
We were talking about this yesterday, and it has to.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say, we talked about this yesterday, and the theory that was that surely this has something to do with this entertainment device that Google's supposedly testing right now. The branding has to tie in with that somehow. Maybe it's going to be the Google Player or something to that effect.
Well, then why not?
There has to be some reason for this.
Why rebrand in pieces? Because people don't know what you're talking about. Look at that. Mickey's getting his update right now.
As we're speaking, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I still have the market, and all of a sudden I click on it and it says, oh, we're doing Google Play Store. Okay. Wow. There we go.
The Android, the little bug droid, I think that should have stuck around forever. I mean, that is a symbol of Android. I mean, that should have just lived on forever and ever. At a very minimum, they should have done like the what is that, the eat sleep Android kind of thing, where you put all three together. They all have their own icons, but collectively they have this own kind of their own image or something. I don't know. It's just weird they got rid of that.
Yeah.
All right, DMX, make it happen.
Yeah.
You heard.
I get having this like umbrella thing to put everything else under. That makes sense. But the visual branding is gone. If you're going to continue to rebrand stuff and move things under this umbrella later, why not just do it all at once? I don't know. I'm not sold on. I get why they're doing it, I guess. I'm not sold on it. The Play name, I don't know. It doesn't really matter what I think because it's done.
Exactly.
Nobody asked us. But we'll see. And another question is, what about productivity? What about enterprise, right? Have they given up on that? I don't think Google's given up on that, but kind of sounds like it. But then again, people said the same thing with BlackBerry and the Playbook. So That's it.
I don't know.
I don't much care for the way they rolled it out either. I was out of the house on whatever day.
Yeah, you were, you son of a.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm bored out of my skull, and I figured, well, let's see what's new in the market. I'll buy a game and sit here and give me something to do. And I hit the button, and all of a sudden it tells me it's updating to something, and quite frankly, it looked to me like something from The Verge with that icon up there.
Yes.
Something completely foreign and different.
No. I think it really does look like the Verge logo, and I love those guys, and I have to believe that they're not behind this. I keep meaning to mention it to them.
I haven't been there yet.
But I kind of know a little bit about Android, and it took me back for just a second. I'm like, hey, what's going on? All right.
It wouldn't.
I see
it wouldn't have killed them to have some
icon.
kind of announcement beforehand.
Right.
I could
it
see
says
like
it's under-
if you took music and video and everything that was sort of entertainment centric and done that, but the market it's applications, right? It's totally different. I mean, so I still think they should have left that sort of on its own thing with the Android logo and not wrapped it all into the entertainment side of things, or somehow differentiated it.
Like I was saying, the only way it makes sense to me from a branding perspective is if they've got something else planned that's going to tie into this in the future, and they're just sowing the seeds of that right now with Google Play.
Mm.
Well,
We'll know more this
I
summer.
thought it was weird when Singular changed their logo too. So maybe I'll get used to it.
Yeah. We'll know more this summer. You know, Google I/O is coming up at the end of June, and this entertainment thing, I think it'll probably happen. I mean, it's going to be some sort of offshoot of Google TV, probably, right?
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
That just makes sense. And I'm still
What
using
did
my Google
Eric
TV.
Schmidt say? 50% of the new TVs he wants to have Android software on it of some sort.
I'm looking forward to it. And actually, I tell you, I'm using my Google TV a lot more than I thought I would. I'm really just using it for music. I don't think I've tried it for Netflix yet. I've still got the Xbox out there for that, but I'm using it all the time.
I'm watching the chat room on it right now.
All right.
I love my Google TV.
Yeah, I mean, just throw some good hardware at it, and it's got a chance to be really good. Absolutely. But holy hell, what a hiccup in the past year, right?
Yep.
No denying.
That does not look like the logo, by the way.
Yeah, it does.
One's colored, the Google logo is colored. It's turned to the right, and the pattern's slightly different too.
Go back to your champagne, Cory.
The only similarity is that they're both triangles.
All right. Well, they're both triangles. I don't know. I thought it looked like that.
Colorful.
Hey, what do you guys think? Any other expectations at I/O? We got our kind of semi-official
Crazy goggles.
Crazy goggles. Oh man, I'm so not buying that.
And we've kind of been over that, I guess, in MWC.
I'll believe that one.
I just want an implant into my optic nerve. Skip the Googles or the goggles. Google goggles. Skip it all. Just put the chip right in my mind.
You want to be the test case?
I'm fine. Volunteer right here.
I don't know. I'm thinking a quick look at the next OS. Maybe. Did we get an ICS look last year? No.
We didn't. I think we got the name and we got some vague sense of what they were doing, but we didn't see anything from the actual OS.
I'm thinking maybe this home entertainment thing, which is going to be an extension of Google TV.
Google Player, calling it right now.
Google Player. That's not bad.
Oh, there you go.
It's not horrible.
Oh, that wouldn't be bad.
Get Snoop Dogg to advertise it.
That would be badass. I'm trying to think anything with tablets, but I don't really care about.
Maybe we've heard rumors about tablets. There'll probably be a new tablet at some point, I guess, because there always are.
Yeah.
But
it's gonna be 500 new tablets.
I want Google to build a relationship with a Roku or someone, so you don't have to buy the Logitech player to watch the movies. It's cool you can watch it on your tablet. And I guess if you buy a Google TV piece of hardware, you can use it on your laptop or wherever or in your phone. But I'd like to see it in more places. If I buy the media from them, I'd like to be able to kind of watch it anywhere. Did that make any sense?
No, because you can do that now.
I saw your. Can you watch Google movies and stuff on a Roku?
Not on a Roku.
Well, that's what I mean. I'd like them to open up a little bit further to other devices.
But why not buy a Google TV?
Because I don't have a Google TV and I don't want one. I have a Roku.
Ooh, hater.
That's like in Eric Schmidt's keynote when somebody's like, hey, are you going to bring Android to feature phones? She's like, why the hell would you do that? Buy a smartphone. And then the whole room kind of sat there. Alex was in there. The whole room's like, huh?
Well, he was saying that, effectively something that Kevin's been arguing for the past year or so, that all phones will be smartphones probably within 12 months.
Right.
That this year's $200 phones, next year's $100 or $75 phones.
What do you think about on the content side? So, I mean, right now Google's got books. It's got music, though it's obviously and horribly still missing. I think the big label is it Warner? Who's it missing? It's Warner, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Warner Music Group. Yeah. That's painfully missing. It's pretty obvious, right? So they got books, they got apps, they got music. You've got games in Google Plus, but any of you guys been playing those?
I play Bubble Island. Laugh at me. I don't care.
No, I play it.
Bubble Island?
Mm-hmm.
How's that one?
It's like Frozen Bubble that I've been playing for years on Linux. You just shoot the little balls and pop the bubbles. Heck, I'm playing it right now.
When you guys say you're playing games, I'm like, when the heck do you guys have time to do that? It's because I see you blogging like 15 hours a day.
Well, I mean, so what do you think's next on the content side? People are thinking they're going to bring newspapers, games. I mean, what's the other one? Periodicals, magazines. Yeah, I don't know. We've already got magazines, I guess. You can get SI in an SI app. Do you need them you've got Google Currents, which is pretty much the same thing, right? So what's next on the content side? Because at the end of the day, content is key.
I'll bet that they try to have some sort of focus on integration with what they have now, spread across. Like you used games on Google Plus as an example.
Right.
There's a lot of games people play on Facebook that you can just go to iTunes and download those games for your iPhone and play the same game, and the scores translate back to Facebook and everything else. I think Google could do that with Google Plus. You download a game in the market, and my Bubble Island game, I can play it on my phone, and the score gets saved. I'm sure they're working on more content, but I also hope that they're going to try to tie it all together.
I think that's something we need more of just in apps in general, to be honest. More apps using cloud storage, especially games. I mean, Steam for a long time on the PC and on the Mac has had Steam Cloud, which means you can synchronize save games across any device that you have Steam Sync to. I think, with more people owning maybe more than one phone or maybe a phone and a tablet, that's something we need to see more of.
What about audiobooks? Because that's another big one that I think people are getting into. The kids totally are listening to audiobooks these days. No, I mean, but that's another big platform. Audible's a big one. There are a bunch of publishers out there doing them. Can you see Google expanding beyond that as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a huge market. I love audiobooks personally.
Well, hey, that's a perfect time for a segue, and I totally didn't set that up, by the way, because as you well know, this week's podcast is brought to you by Audible. So, so here's the deal. I mean, Cory and I travel a lot, right? And I got a perfect usage case. This makes total sense. So my wife started reading 11/22/63, that Stephen King book. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a time travel book. Like, dude goes back in time and has to stop, doesn't have to, but kind of has to stop the JFK assassination. So here's the deal. Like, my wife has the book, big physical book, and I actually still like reading that way from time to time. But I start reading the thing, too, and as you can imagine, trying to read a physical book at the same time as your wife, not that easy to do. So I got the Audible book on the way to Barcelona. So, you got a 9-hour flight to listen to this thing. It's unabridged, which is awesome. And, you can get it's varying prices depending on how you have Audible. But the Audible Android app's been out for a long time. I think we did one of the first beta reviews of the Audible app, 5,000 years ago. Really good app, really easy to do, really easy to buy. And it sounds good, right? I mean, have you ever... Renee, can you cue up that sample so we can just hear a little bit?
It works really well. Like, it's not buggy.
Yeah.
It's pretty... I mean, I can't think of any features it doesn't have, really, that you can't get on the full website.
So, I mean, when you're commuting, especially when you're flying, especially when you fly as much as Cory and I do, it's just awesome.
Yeah. That's a good point. I plug my phone into my stereo in my car and listen to books quite a bit too. Yeah, it's a really good point. The narrator can make all the difference in the world, though.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
like the Stephen King one has Craig Wasson, who's an old
Harry
actor.
Dunning graduated with flying colors.
There he is.
I went to the little GED ceremony in the LHS gym at his invitation. He really had no one else, and I was happy to do it. After the benediction, spoken by Father Bandy, who rarely missed an LHS function, I made my way through the milling friends and relatives to where Harry was standing alone in his billowy black gown, holding his diploma in one hand and his rented mortarboard in the other.
How awesome is that? I mean, as much as I love reading, like, read to me on the plane. I don't have to think. I can just close my eyes and fall asleep and then get mad because I realized I have to totally scroll back. But the app is excellent. The Android app is excellent. The service is excellent. Go to audible.com/AC and we'll cut you a deal. Appreciate that. Thank you, Audible. Do it.
Bill?
Do it now.
Sorry, it's audiblepodcast.com/AC.
Audiblepodcast.com/AC. There you go.
I just want somebody to get Phil Nickinson to narrate some books for me.
I'm not sure anybody wants that.
He does every week. Just listen to the podcast.
So let's talk privacy. 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 So I have a question. Can you be against just bad stories and bad stories on privacy and still be for privacy and security?
Sure.
Yes.
Because according to the emails I've gotten this week, you can't. That just makes no sense to people. Just asking.
That's just proof that you can have access to the internet and not think things through.
So this actually, Jerry, this came out right as we were getting back from MWC, right? I forget who did the original story. Oh, it was something that came out in the New York Times about the iPhone had not necessarily a flaw, but the way it worked is apps are supposed to be really sandboxed and can only have access to the camera roll, right? Except for if an app had access to GPS, it could then get to the pictures, and that's bad. That's against Apple's terms of service, and they're fixing it. So then somebody says, oh, wait a minute. Every Android application has access to every picture you've ever taken on your SD card because of the way it's stored. And it has to do, I mean, it's a normal, I keep calling it a perfectly normal file system. It makes sense in the scheme of the way everybody has been storing files on every computer for, I don't know, the past, 15, 20 years?
At least since the first computer I ever had, I could type in C:/pictures and look at the file list.
So my problem this week has been these stories that are pretending that there's a problem in this, that it's bad. I mean, whether or not it's bad, we'll get to that in a second. But these stories are saying Android is flawed. Any application can get to any picture without your permission. Well, no.
That was a feature 6 months ago. Everybody loved it.
Exactly.
As they all upload their pictures to Facebook.
And that's my problem, is that people don't know what they're talking about. And the stories have just been bad. The stories are not good. That Channel 4 video was exceedingly horrible, and I don't know much about British news, but I know that wasn't good. I know that, saying, we talked to one security company, and by the way, here's their name 5 times, and we're sure to spell it right. Found all these applications in the top 50 that do this, and it's not good. No, we're not going to tell you what they are. but we're going to show this to the VP of whatever in the UK, and okay.
Let's be clear that a lot of the noise was made about this being illegal. And the part that's illegal isn't it accessing on your phone with your permission because you pressed the button. The part that's illegal is because they happen to be using ad agencies that are outside the EU, and that some information could be transmitted to them from the app potentially. And if that happens, it is illegal because the app is transferring information about you outside of the EU without your permission. So it's a very convoluted thing.
What?
Go on.
Without your permission is the key.
Right.
You gave it permission when you installed it.
Yes.
But under EU law, unless someone asks you explicitly if it can transfer your personal information, even if you agree to give it your personal information outside of the EU, that's still illegal. And that allows them to make a lot of noise about saying, oh, this is illegal under EU law, without really explaining it.
All right, so...
Well, you need to go to Parliament and fix that, Alex.
Which is kind of funny considering you can't walk down the street without being on a camera, without being watched by the government.
There is a certain irony.
But this is something I've thought a lot about lately. And as you guys might have seen earlier tonight, I've got a wife and a daughter walking around, and that's one of two daughters. Mickey just had a kid too. So Mickey's going to need to start thinking about this more and more. It's, because we use our phones to take pictures of our families. We use our phones to share these pictures on Facebook and, Path and Google Plus. And on one hand, yes, I think you need to have these apps need to have permission. I think it's a question of when they need to have permission, how often they need to have permission, and at some point, at what point is that permission implied? The fact that I'm using a smartphone to take pictures and to share over apps, at some point, I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm sharing this picture with this application, so it therefore has access to this picture. Or I'm searching for something using this service. This service damn well better know what I'm searching for. That's what I'm asking it to do. I just really feel like we're treating ourselves like babies here, and it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah. You could shut Google down and Apple to everybody down. And you'd have to be Amish to avoid.
Yeah. I mean, you really would. I mean, Mickey, as a new father, are you worrying about this anymore than you used to as far as individual app security goes?
Not really. I mean, I'm not really taking the time to do anything about it, though, either. I do share pictures, but I share limited information. Mm-hmm. You're kind of subject to whatever services that you use. And so I know going into it, what I share, I basically say, I'm giving up this information. I'm okay with giving up this information to pretty much anybody that's out there once I share it. Once you get over that fact, you're okay with it. I mean, I don't share every detail of my life. I don't share, intimate, things or intimate photos or anything like that. If I put something out there, I'm realizing that it could get out to anywhere. And once it's out there, it's out there. And I'm not, egotistical to think that it really, I matter that much, but I also know that there's a lot of, there's a lot of things that could be done with the data that I put out there. So I'm very careful to share about what I share, because certainly there's people that are opportunists and they could take advantage of you and the things that you're potentially doing when you're sharing that information.
I live fairly publicly, right? I mean, between my job and even my last job, it was a little less public than this, but it was a smaller circle, right? I mean, it was more local. So I've started using, like Facebook. The majority of you out there aren't friends with me on Facebook. I think everybody here is, except for Jerry, because he hates Facebook with a passion.
And Cory.
And Cory. No, I'm friends with Cory on Facebook. I think we went through that already.
No, you're not. I deleted my account like a year ago.
Oh my God, I used to be. Wait, what happened to Cory? Cory Street. All right, Cory's gone. I miss Cory on Facebook. No, I mean, Facebook I use for, people I actually know and family, right? Because it's the big one and my family uses it. Google Plus for me is more public, and granted I share everything on Google Plus except for, pictures of the wife and kids, but even then I'll put a few of them out there, right? Same thing for Twitter. So that's how I've kind of sandboxed myself. But the question I've been asking Jerry a little bit over the past week is treating photos like a perfectly normal file system, is that the best way to do it?
Yes, because you also have the tools you can download free apps that hide your photos if that's what you want. It's, and maybe I'm a little bit hasty. Is it acceptable? That's going to depend on you. I mean, is it acceptable to you? I can't make that decision for you, but it is the accepted way that it's always been done. Apple decided not to do it for whatever reason. The only problem that I have with Apple developers being able to access pictures without actually having permission is that it's a flaw in Apple's security. It needs to be fixed and addressed. Either say, okay, camera roll is open, or block their access. That doesn't mean that it's the right way or that it's any safer. We touched on it earlier. Since the beginning, you've always pull up any application on your computer at home and click the button that says File Open, and you can see all your documents are public. They're wide open. They're made to be shared. That's just the way we've always done it.
Looking at all of the applications I have sitting down here in my taskbar: Chrome, Firefox, File Explorer, Windows Media Player, Trillion, TweetDeck, Adobe Premiere, Photoshop, Dreamweaver, Lightroom, Command Prompt, Skype, FileZilla, SIP client. I mean, every single one of these programs, except for maybe the telephone, the SIP client, can open up, any folder that can see any file on my computer. Unless it's a hidden file, but that's hidden for all of 30 seconds until I unhide it. That's not security.
Right.
Is there an example of where this has ever been an issue, or it's been abused? Or all of us install custom ROMs, right? That's more dangerous. Who knows what in the world people are putting inside of those? I mean, they've all been safe, right? But we're putting ourselves at greater risk with a lot of these other things.
Well, hey, hang on, Cory. It's a custom ROM. It must be better.
No, but they never talk about that.
And I say that with that tone of voice, but that's what people think of custom ROMs, right? Oh, it's custom. Right. It must be better.
That's why we all install custom ROMs from people that we trust, right?
And are subject to government regulation.
You're giving like the lowest level access to your phone to somebody. I mean, it's
here's how you handle that sort of security. If you don't want that sort of thing on your phone, don't take the picture. Period. That's the only way. Abstinence. No,
you can go to the market and download free applications that move pictures from the SD card or the folder named SD card into the data partition where they're not shared. If that's what you need to do, just go download a free program that does it.
But I think not everyone appreciates that the way file systems work. Mm-hmm. Your average person isn't necessarily going to know that when you take a picture, it's then stored in a file system of which other things have access to.
But they shouldn't have to.
It's there in the camera app.
Should they?
And well, they shouldn't have to, no. But
well, no, Jesus, Phil, you're making this hard.
I know. No. Look, and I'm making it hard for a reason. It needs to be hard, and it needs to be talked about.
I understand.
And we need to not all be shouted down when we speak out a little bit against it.
If you want to plug your phone into your computer and have access to the pictures and songs and documents and videos, those files have to be shared. Mm-hmm. They have to be open. They have to be accessible.
But there's the perception, I think, among a lot of people that isn't the case, that it's only you take a picture, it's just in the gallery app. It's more about people's perceptions of how things work than how things actually work.
Now, Mickey, you're a big-time iPhone user, so have you noticed any difference in the way? Have you been sharing stuff from your Galaxy Nexus since you've had it? Have you noticed how much easier it is to do from the Galaxy Nexus?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love the ability, the fact that I've got the new Dropbox application shares all of my stuff, all of my photos automatically. And, it really is helpful, especially in the jobs that we do, because we're, constantly taking screenshots and pictures and stuff like that. And, to have it just automatically there on your computer is brilliant. And, I appreciate that. But I also like that I can do anything with it right away. I don't, if I'm looking for privacy, I'm not looking to do it on my phone. I know there's more information about me on my phone than there is pretty much anywhere else that's out there. But that's the reason I have passwords on my phone. That's the reason that I treat it with as much care as possible. But I know that things like that, like pictures, I should expect a reasonable amount of openness with that. And I have not ever had something happen to one of my pictures. It doesn't matter if it's iOS or Android. It just doesn't happen. But at the same time, I'm also not taking pictures that I don't want to be out there on my phone. Another good example with Android now, with the automatic uploading of photos to Google Plus and the iPhone with the automatic uploading of photos over to PhotoStream, you're not even choosing what's happening with these photos now. They're just going out there. So if the only way to really make sure that you're 100% protected, I guess, with these is to take these pictures with airplane mode on and do something, whatever it is that you're going to do with the pictures, and then delete them off your phone and then turn the phone back on. And if that sounds ridiculous, then don't take a picture.
That is ridiculous. But I mean, it turns your point and shoot sharing camera into, this basically, might as well use a big 3-pound DSLR at that point, DSLR,
Right.
I'm taking a picture of the podcast again, by the way. There we go.
All they've done with this story is confuse people and make them more, put more fear into them. And it's really annoying that this keeps happening.
Man.
There's a lot of FUD out there. I still think it's a conversation that needs to be had and is worth having. I think it's an interesting discussion about the way that Google goes about it. And in fact, I'm curious. I'm not sure how Windows Phone does it. Need to find out. Versus the way that iOS does it. And and there are merits to both. I understand why Apple might do it that way, and it makes sense from the Apple train of thought. But I mean, for me, it comes down to, and this is what I'm going to tell my kids. And I have 2 daughters, and that the thought of that scares the crap out of me, right? But I'm going to tell them, if if somebody's taking pictures and you don't want that picture, if you're going to do something that you don't want people to see, then just don't do it. Do not do it. I had an old Russian soccer coach. Well, he was Brazilian, he was like 13 different nationalities. It was crazy. He used to have a saying, because he's coaching a bunch of dumb boys. He'd say, if you're going to do something, don't. That was it. And that's what I'm going to tell my daughters. If you're going to do it, just don't do it. Take a little responsibility. That's kind of my takeaway from all this.
And people get so mad when you tell them they need to take a little bit of responsibility for themselves.
Right.
But it's true. We all do. All of us, not just you, myself, and everybody here in this podcast as well. Ultimately, we're responsible.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, look, in every post I've written about this, I want to be able to trust the developer. You need to be able to trust the developer. The onus is still on the developer, I think, and the operating system. I'm not sure which one I'd put on a higher level there, probably equally. But, at the end of the day, I control my own actions. If I'm going to do something, if I'm going to send an email that maybe I don't want written down, I don't write it down. If I'm going to take, a picture that maybe shouldn't be taken, then I'm not going to take it. Renee Ritchie is sharing pictures of the of the podcast right now and how it looks from his point of view. It's
I would also add, if something is too good to be true, if you get a really awesome app that's free with no advertising, you might think about that, right? There's some really good stuff out there, and that's how they make money. They are profiting off that kind of stuff.
Well,
I'm going to tell everybody listening right now, if you have a question and you want to take responsibility for yourself and you don't understand something, email us.
Right.
Any one of us here on this podcast will be more than happy to help you manage the way you use your smartphone. Every one of us. And it doesn't matter if it's Android. I don't care. If you've got a BlackBerry and want to ask me, I know a little bit about BlackBerry. Mickey knows a little bit about an iPhone. Phil knows Windows Mobile. Ask us if you don't know anybody else to turn to. We want to help you.
And you're going to have to give up a little bit of privacy to use these things. That's just the way it is, right? So we had that really cool app come out today, Slice. That's basically, you've heard me talk about TripIt, right? TripIt, you can send it emails and it will suck in all your itineraries into one, cohesive app, and it's excellent. So Slice kind of does the same thing for purchases, right? You hook your email account into it, so it's watching my Gmail account right now. Anytime I order anything, it it sees it, it sucks it into the app. So I've got a tracking number, I've got receipts, everything you could need from that sort of thing is right there in the app. The trade-off, it has access to my Gmail account, and it can read my emails. So people are saying, well, I like this, but it has access to my email account. Well, that's how it works. I mean, yes, I suppose it could work. And TripIt actually does both, right? TripIt will watch your Gmail account, and you can forward emails to it. I actually have it set up for both, and actually, I probably need to turn the monitoring off just because it's not fast enough for my liking. But these things going into it, so you don't really get to complain about it. I mean, it might be worth an email to the developer, like, "Hey, I love this. The idea is great, but I don't like the idea of you, having access to my full email account." But at the same time, that's also becoming so much more commonplace. I mean, something everybody should do probably once a month is go through, Facebook, go through Twitter, and see what services have access. See what other apps have access to your Twitter account and your Facebook account and your Google account. And I understand why it's a little different for people giving access to your Google account. That's a big deal. It's a huge deal. It's the reason why my 5-year-old doesn't have a Google account yet. She uses a Chromebook most of the time, but doesn't have her own login because you can buy stuff. You can do some serious stuff with that. But to be able to use a lot of these services, you've got to give up some of that privacy. It's just the way it is. And I'm okay with that. You might not be, and that's fine. But it's something you have to ask yourself. Everybody okay?
Well, and that's always been the case too with security. It's like the higher security, the less features or the less convenience you have.
Right.
If you want to give up some of that, lower security, gain some features and convenience, then that's the trade-off.
If you want to shut off the cell radio and Wi-Fi on your smartphone, it'll be secure as hell.
Exactly. Can't do much with it.
Well, and you have to believe that some of these companies too, like God forbid, Facebook or whatever, they want to stay in business, right? So they're going to do what they can to protect your information to some extent. TripIt, I'm sure TripIt doesn't want to go in and read your emails for malicious reasons. They're pretty well established, and I love their service. What are they using? What are they doing that for? They want to monitor itinerary that you're getting, right?
Right.
Not necessarily reading something else. They're looking for keywords like Alaska Airlines or hotel or something.
They probably get data that you don't think they should have, but I'll bet they don't do a damn thing with it.
They better not.
They don't have the server power.
Well,
they'd be out of business tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a big deal. It's a conversation that needs to be had, and we're going to continue to talk about it. I know it's sticky, and people get upset about it. And God, I mean, you write one thing that criticizes anyone, who writes some horrible. There are some pretty horrible stories out there. There's so much FUD, and that's my problem. I want us to talk about this. I want us to get excited about it. I want us to get mad about it. It's important. It's that important. But these stories are just horrible, and I don't have all the answers. But I think
the one thing they could do to make this better is make it more friendly. I mean, right now, privacy policies and terms and conditions, all that, it's like a 1040 supplement, right? You have to, it's too complicated. It's too much work to go in and just simple it down, dumb it down, let people know exactly what's happening. So you don't skip those pages. You actually read them. And if you want more details, then you click on something. I don't know, but that's the big problem for me.
If I can see anybody, I can see Google saying, when you go to install an app, saying, "Hey, did you know that this app has access to your SD card?" And guess what, dude? It could probably also find pictures or documents that you don't want it to find, and maybe send it off to some server in China. We just want you to make sure you know that.
And use the word dude. I mean, talk to us like we're friggin' humans, not like no one reads that stuff.
And that's the point of this. No, that's entirely the point of Google's new privacy policy, right? That they consolidated these 60-something policies into 5 or 6 or whatever it is. And you know what? These have been enacted for a week now. These have been in effect since March 1st. Today's March 8th. We've had them for 7 days.
Completely.
And yeah, the world has not stopped spinning.
I've never had a company annoy me enough to not want to read their. It's like the other extreme.
Good for them. But then now you can't say they didn't give you an opportunity to read.
They did a great job.
Absolutely.
It was I couldn't go to any web page without knowing about it.
And I think they might still be up there too.
They are.
I don't think they took it down on March 1st.
If you log out to Google services and log back in, it bugs you again.
Right.
Yeah.
Google's done it right by me.
It's a good thing.
All right, that's that. We're gonna do a couple emails and one quick voicemail. We'll get out of here.
Works for
Sounds
me.
good.
Let's do the emails first. Let's change it up this week since we're back. JD writes, why are the Arcos tablets getting ice cream sandwich before the Google Experience Motorola Zoom 3G, 4G? Do you think this is a Motorola or a Verizon issue? So we've talked about this before. The difference between the Arcos tablets and the Zoom 3G, 4G is in the names, right? One has a radio, one doesn't. I mean, one has cell radio, one is Wi-Fi only. I think that is... I'm 90% certain that's the reason.
Google has signed off the update for the Zoom. We got it on the Wi-Fi's. What's left? The radios.
Right.
Yeah. And I think part of the problem is that you look at what kind of device the 3G, 4G Zoom is. It's a very strange device. It's one that can be 3G, can be 4G. You've got some devices that are upgraded, some devices that aren't. It's a strange device to have to put through an upgrade for. And there's going to be so much testing that Verizon has to do to make sure it works in every single case.
And we would be pissed. Every one of us here would be mad at Verizon if they put it out too early.
Yes.
I am hard on carriers, but test it, then test it one more time before you release it to the users.
When everybody says, well, why, how come Cyanogen Mod Team is able to put stuff out this much sooner? Because they're not doing the radios.
Right.
And also,
they don't have 4 corporations that have to talk to each other, right. And 9 people in board. It's a lot different.
And that's not to talk badly about what they're doing, because absolutely that's awesome. They can get it out that quickly, but they are still using other people's. They're not creating the bulk of the code.
Right, and they're releasing work to people who are more than willing to put up with a few bugs and help get them fixed.
Right.
Whereas Verizon doesn't do that. They can't send an update to my mom and say, hey, if this stuff, yeah.
And there's no certification that needs to go through either.
Right.
And we've seen Sony and Motorola say that, look, a lot of the reason behind these delays is because we don't just have to create this software; we have to submit it to other people to be certified, like the Wi-Fi Alliance.
Well, I'm not going to say there's no certification. It's different. It's a different sort of certification. I mean, it's not that they're slapping code up on a screen and saying, "All right, go for it." But yeah. I mean, your point's well taken. Next one. Anybody?
Steve from Scotland writes, hey guys, first of all, great job with MWC. Thanks for the awesome coverage. On that note, it's upgrade time for me in a couple of months. I'm really liking the look of the HTC One X, and the car dock may have just nailed it for me. How good do you think it is, and will I regret going back to a phone with Sense on it?
The car dock was awesome. And I mean,
and it was so cool that it was from Scotland and Alex read it. I just want to throw that out there.
I was gonna do a comedy Scottish accent. Decided to, no, that's not gonna happen.
that car dock is awesome. I was very, very impressed with it, even just by a couple minutes. I've used a lot of car docks. The buttons are big, perfectly big. I mean, I don't think I've used one that's that good. The dongle. So if you don't have Bluetooth in your car, you plug this little dongle into your aux port, and you can stream over Bluetooth straight to that. I saw today, and I don't think I saw this at MWC, but they've got a microphone that'll clip up on your visor. So I mean, I can't wait to play with this stuff some more. I'm totally going to go buy them. I'm getting a 1X. I think I've decided. So I'll be playing with all this and reviewing it. Absolutely.
Remind me, Phil, before we stop recording, I want to talk about docks for just a minute.
Okay.
Go on.
No, that's it. Will you regret going back to a phone with Sense on it? I don't know. Will you? It's look, I mean, it's a different feel. It's the menus are still skinned, and the menus are done a little differently. I know everybody's worried about the way that the legacy menu buttons work. It makes sense. I mean, Alex and I played with them on several different occasions, and we actually had to look at it, a couple times and make sure we knew exactly where it went. It's 3 little buttons down on the bottom. You can't miss them. Yeah, so menus are skinned. The dock isn't. The app drawer is. I like it. I think it's fine.
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here, and Sense, TouchWiz, and even Blur a little bit, they kick ass. They give you things that Android doesn't give you.
Right, which is the idea.
Multimedia codecs. They give you stuff that you won't see until Jelly Bean. There's nothing wrong with them. My first Android phone full time was the Hero, and when I switched to, I would look at my G1 and look at stock and then look at the Hero. I loved Sense. Sense made the phone so much better.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you look at Sense on anything up to probably Froyo, it added so many new features that just weren't there. And maybe there's been a bit of a lull where stock Android's caught up and people have been a bit frustrated, but I think they've done a good job of taking a bit of a step back in Sense 4.
I think Ice Cream Sandwich made a big difference. So I don't know. I'd have to see the new Sense, but I really like Ice Cream Sandwich. I think they did the email right. They did a lot of things right from a user interface kind of from that standpoint.
I'm counting on the Sense, the HTC UX experts to say, "Oh, Ice Cream Sandwich did a kick-ass job. What can we do to make it even better?"
Right, and that's all they've ever done. I think Blur kind of came about it from a different angle, where Blur originated from sucking in all this other content and then twisting it around the UI. Blur originated from bringing in your Facebook and Flickr and Twitter, and I forget what else, right? And bringing it all in and twisting it around within the phone itself, and then spitting it out in some crappy UI. And I think what Motorola has done has grown in leaps and bounds since then. I think it's very usable now, but in the beginning it was horrible. Now, I mean, when people say I don't like Sense, what they're saying is I don't like that launcher. I think 99 times out of 100, somebody says I don't like Sense and I don't like Blur. They're saying I don't like the launcher. And that you can change. We've said this before. Sense is a framework. Sense. I'm totally going to sound like an HTC employee here, but Sense is a way of life. No,
Well, no, you're right.
No, but it is. But that's why that's how they look at it. And I've said it.
I think the other thing that frustrates people about Sense is having to wait for upgrades, and that's not Sense. That's you buy anything other than a Nexus, and you've got to deal with that.
And
actually HTC's been pretty good.
On the other hand, what do we really have in Ice Cream Sandwich that Sense 3.5 didn't have?
We could ask that the other way around too.
But we see these features in Sense long before they make their way into stock Android, because the stock Android, the goal isn't, well, let's just pack features and connectivity in there.
Right.
It's to advance the platform. HTC can take that and build on top of it and add things, like look, HTC cameras, Samsung cameras, they put in features that we're just now seeing in Ice Cream Sandwich when they were running Froyo. And
correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Mickey just fell asleep at his desk there. No, I'm pretty sure that that CyanogenMod 9 has backed away from some of the features that it packed into 7, right?
Well, they've said is they've basically started again from scratch. They're not looking at porting stuff across from 7. They're looking at building on ICS in 9.
Right.
Just because a lot of the stuff they implemented is already there in stock now.
How you doing there, Mickey?
I think HTC Sense is always, like, their messaging app is awesome. HTC Sense is the first time I've never downloaded like a third-party messaging or email app. There's a lot they do. You're right. There's that perception that it's just the launcher. And I got to admit, in the past, I've wanted to get rid of that and put something else on there. And there are options for that. But I do love their messaging. I think they've done an awesome job with that.
All right. I'm going to move on. We got a couple more, then we're out of here. Who was the last email?
Look that up.
I have my email open.
Bruce writes, I was never one to complain about the Nexus S 4G not receiving the Android 4.0 update, because no phones have received it yet. Actually, a few have. But now I'm really angry hearing about the Sensations update. So the Sensation in Europe has started getting it. The Sensation XE in Germany, I think, started getting it. So we're starting to see it roll out a little bit. I was wondering what your take is on this. Here's my take. Dude, don't let something like that make you angry. Just go outside, take a walk. It's okay.
We have seen 2 leaks that we're pretty sure came from Google employees. Both of those leaks, Google has signed off on the update for the Nexus S 4G. Android is ready. The radios aren't. Do you want Sprint and Google to push something to your phone that makes your phone worse? Because that's what they can do, and that's what we have now. That's just the way it is. It's just not ready. You can't point the finger. You can't blame anybody. Maybe Sprint could put more people working with Samsung. I don't know, but it's just not ready.
Okay, well, here's my question. I've got a GSM Galaxy Nexus. Why do I not have 4.0.3 or 4.0.4 or whatever?
Well, you don't need it.
That's what I'd like to know, too.
What does that give you?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I mean, we know. Look, and Google made a big deal of saying 4.0.3 is coming. It's going to be the base version of Ice Cream Sandwich, so why don't I have it?
I'll tell you why we need it. There's bugs in the original release that I personally would like to see fixed, and I want to know when they're going to get fixed.
People ask us, literally every day, people are like, why aren't you, giving Google hell about this? It's because Google's going to put it out when it's ready, guys. I like to think we have that kind of pull. We don't. And bitching about it's not going to change anything. I mean, it'll be ready when it's ready. Sorry.
Google is not, I've seen some crazy stuff. Let's class action suit because there's a advertisement on a Sprint website that says you'll be the first with Google updates, and we haven't gotten Chrome yet because it needs Ice Cream Sandwich. Crazy stuff like that. You know what? Part of me wishes that Google and Sprint would say, here, enjoy, and then just laugh at you when your phone doesn't work. But that's the part of me that doesn't have to get all the emails. When it's ready, you'll get it.
Yeah, look, we get these emails all the time. Somebody says, here's a petition. Can you help spread the word? Do you think these carriers or manufacturers or anybody, do you think these companies don't want to give you a better product? Do you think they're doing this to piss you off personally? I guarantee you they're not. I know that's not what you want to hear. I know you want me to set my hair on fire because we run a blog. And you know what? Let the other blogs do that. That's not how we do things here. Sorry. That's my thing.
And if we want to deal in Nexus S 4G specifically, I know not everybody wants to root their phone, but if you root your phone, go into Android Central Forums in the Nexus S 4G section, you can download the 4G ROM that came from Google with the old radio from Sprint, and it works great. It works great other than the same connectivity issues that have plagued Gingerbread with the Sprint version.
Right.
Nexus S, I feel sorry for you guys, but really there's just nothing that can be done until it's ready.
That's pretty awesome. Somebody in the chat room is calling me a carrier apologist. That's badass. Cause,
you are.
Yeah, you obviously didn't listen to a damn thing I just said.
Verizon pays me, I found out a couple weeks ago. I don't know who's paying you. We'll have to compare and see if we can't get more money from.
I'm going to go cash this check right after the podcast. Let's do the voicemail. We'll get the hell out of here. And then we'll let Jerry talk about docs.
This is Josiah. I'm from California, calling for the Android Central podcast. I just want to say I've been hearing Phil talk about how great the Galaxy Nexus is, and then say to buy the Motorola Razr instead, and then the Motorola Razr Max, that it's a better phone. And I just hear a lot of flip-flopping between the Galaxy Nexus and the Razr. And it's not even just you guys. I hear the people on twit.tv, This Week in Tech, all about Android, doing the same thing, and also on the Engadget mobile podcast, Engadget podcast. And you guys, nobody seems to be able to really come to a conclusion. Which one is actually better, the Galaxy Nexus or the Motorola Razr Max? And yes, I'm just kind of getting annoying hearing all this flip-flopping, though. And I really want to know once and for all, which phone is it you guys think is the best phone, the Razr Max or the Galaxy Nexus? Thanks, man. Bye.
Nexus, baby.
Yeah, I got a conclusion right here. Buy a Galaxy Nexus.
Nexus.
You'll never hear a flip-flop from me on that one.
Jerry?
I think if you're a Verizon customer and don't want to root your phone and don't want to deal with bugs, you should buy a Razr Max. tomorrow.
And you don't need to change your battery?
Well,
no, the Razr Max you don't. It lasts for like 16 years.
Thing's huge. Mickey, you've seen them both, right? You were at CES.
Mm-hmm. Nexus, man.
Oh
yeah. Come on.
Look, I like the Razr a lot. I think it's a fine phone. I think if you want the Nexus experience, get the Nexus. If you want the Razr and the big ass battery, which is awesome, by the way,
you also need to know what comes along with the Nexus experience. Waiting, buggy software, being the beta tester for Google. I'm okay with that.
Jerry and I go around and around about this like almost every night on a hangout. This Google Nexus is no buggier than any other phone I've had, and it's superior in so many ways from the user interface standpoint than any other phone I've had. It's a consumer-friendly phone. Past Nexuses in the past haven't been, but this one, any consumer could buy it and love it.
I'm going to have to disagree with you, Corey. There are things that are never going to be in a stock Android device that consumers want. Facebook Sync, perfect example. Look in our forums. And you're not going to get that from Google. And even if you were going to get it from Google, it's going to take 6 months, and it's going to suck the first time you see it. That's a Nexus. You need to understand that. And if you're good with that, I'm good with that. I know, Corey, you're good with that. I think everybody here on the podcast is good with that. Oh, hell yeah. Jump right into the Nexus. Go for it. Realize, well, this is buggy, but they're going to fix it, or I can root it and fix it myself. Whereas the Razr, you're going to have somebody holding your hand and helping you along.
I don't know. I wanted my Fascinate, my Thunderbolt. I wanted working GPS on it, and I never got it. The Nexus locks immediately, and it works. And there's so many other features I can say the same thing about. I think all phones have their bugs, but I don't think the Nexus is any buggier than any other phone I've ever had.
Turn it into landscape and type me a 200-word message.
Oh.
Give me a Max. I will give you just as many bugs with that phone. I mean, I'm not putting the Max down.
I'm
all the same.
You will. I will agree with you there. The Razr Max probably has just as many bugs, but you also have the name that you trust and understand, Motorola, that's going to fix them.
So is Google.
We're a special case. You can't judge it on what we want.
Hey, my Nexus is still not rooted, by the way.
Why?
Haven't had any real reason to.
There isn't really. I have never put a custom ROM on my phone. It does everything I want it to do already. It's kind of the first phone I've had that I haven't had to remove bloatware off of it. I haven't had, it's hard to find things like, God, I'd like to put a custom ROM on this so it would do this better or that better. It just kind of works and is functional. And
hey, Josiah, thanks for that voicemail. That's a great way to end the podcast, dude. You got us all yelling at each other. That's awesome.
I hope it's there.
No, it's a fair question. I'm not sure it has one answer.
Sure it is.
Sorry. I mean, you can hear what we say personally. Try both. See what you like better. It's really what it comes down to. I mean, we're going to do another round of phone that we think is the best. We absolutely are. But
if you're listening to this podcast, you have to remember you're not the average consumer.
Yeah. You are not.
Well, and you didn't get any flip-flopping tonight. You got some pretty clear opinions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Cory just gave me the perfect segue. I want to talk for just a second. A couple weeks ago, we got the Galaxy Nexus dock.
Yes.
As soon as it came up on Samsung's website, we ordered it, got it here. And I went ahead and showed everybody, took some video of how it works. And it doesn't. It's really, really bad. It's really buggy. It's really weird. I was determined to figure out what was going on, and I've talked to a bunch of other people. So I built 4.0.3 from source and installed it on my Nexus. That dock works exactly like you think it should. You plug the phone in, it goes into desktop clock. The sound works, Bluetooth works. It transmits sound out through the device if you plug it in. If you don't, the speakerphone works. You can hear your alarm. Everything works. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that the reason that dock does not work with your stock Nexus phone is entirely software. Once whatever the reasons we don't have a newer version yet, when we get it, that dock will be well worth the $90. And I may even take a new video and update my review, because I said before that, is it worth $90? I don't know. Now I think, yeah, it's worth $90.
Well, 3 nights ago, they had pulled that off their website. You couldn't even buy it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's actually been delayed for quite a while before that.
Did they put it back?
I have no idea. If they pulled it, I mean, that's probably a smart move. The software's not ready. It's not ready for prime time yet.
There you go.
And that's all I wanted to talk about the docks, Phil. I wanted to let people know, and I'll give you another video tomorrow of how it works with new software.
Cool. And with that, I'm going to yell at whoever's still echoing me and ask Mickey to wrap it up.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can send us an email to podcast@androidcentral.com or leave us a voicemail at 888-468-6158. Type in extension 222. You can follow all of us on Twitter. The site is at Android Central. Phil is at Phil Nickinson. I am at TCPJ_Mickey. Jerry is at GB Hill, and Cory is at C Streeter. Of course, you can follow all of the other writers over at Android Central. This show and the entire site brought to you by the Android Central store, found at store.androidcentral.com. Place your orders by calling 888-468-6158.
Woohoo! We're
You
back.
do that so well, Mickey. I swear, NBC needs to hire you for Saturday morning voice.
No, we need Mickey. No.
Well, he can still work for us. He won't forget the little people when NBC gives him all that money.
Hey, you know what I was thinking today as I was doing the script? I said, you know what? I need to update a couple things in the script, and I updated one and not the other. Go to shopandroid.com. That's us now.
We can start from the beginning.
Nah.
Do it all over.
Yes, scratch this, start over.
That's good enough. We'll fix it next week. Thank you guys. Thank you, chat room. Thank you, everybody listening at home, for putting up with us, coming back. And if you want to hang out for a couple minutes after the show here real quick, we're going to give away this Motorola Elite Silver Bluetooth headset that I forgot to send back to Motorola, so they're allowing us to give it away, which is very nice of them. Thanks, guys. So we'll do that in a second, and otherwise we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody.
Night.
See ya.
Yep.
Adios.